It is the middle of April, zone 8B, and as you can see, the garden is pretty much all in. The wisdom around here is to have the garden all in by Mother's Day. We very much made that deadline, and once everything is planted, you would think there's nothing left to do. But just wait for them to grow and harvest. But there is quite a bit to do in the garden during this time. You need to monitor your plants as they grow. You want to look for problems, and then correct them, both problems in watering, feeding, development. You want to look for pests and do pest control, and you want to do weeding and weed control. All of these are necessary to grow a healthy garden, and the sooner you get into it, the better. So let's just do a walkthrough with those things in mind. And I'm going to start back here because this is the wild garlic. You remember me talking about the wild garlic. About 5 years ago, I tried to grow a garlic. Didn't turn out well. I plucked it out at the end of the season, tossed it back into here. And at that time, there was a large bush growing back here, plus a tree over there. And so this was what I called the dark corner. This whole area right here was just dark, nothing grew. And as you can see, I still have a lot of trash back here that I need to clean up. But with those things that I mentioned, let me just go over here and show you the stump of the tree that used to be there. So certainly cleaning up all these sticks would be a good thing, but also, check these out. Okay, this right here is called Escape. It's going to turn into a flower, which will then give me garlic seeds. Totally unnecessary. And I've got another plant growing Escape, and I've got a fly over there, and another Scape. These scapes can be cut off. Get an early harvest out of your garlic. You cut them off here, chop them up like they're green onions, use them in a salad like they're green onions, except they taste like garlic, which is a really cool thing. But you can see, got a problem back here because this was a wild corner. I do have some weeds here that need to be taken care of. Weeds, of course, compete with your plants for soil nutrients. Garlic having short roots, this weed problem right here isn't such a terrible thing at the moment, but it will have to be addressed. The garlics themselves are quite healthy, so just keeping them watered is probably my only thing I need to do. I don't have to, doesn't look like they're being attacked by anything, and it looks like they're getting all the food and water they need. So actually, for a wild plant that I didn't grow, they're doing quite well. Here's some more weeding we need to take care of around these tomatoes. That is actually a companion plant. It's a marigold. This tomato and that tomato are growing in an area of the garden that had not been planted before. And so, as you can see, they're kind of struggling. They've kind of got these yellowish leaves, this yellowish cast to their leaves instead of being bright green, and that's an indication of a lack of nitrogen. So we can take care of that with some Alaska fish fertilizer. We also know they've been growing because when I first planted them, they were below this first ring of the tomato cage, and now you can see it's going a bit higher. So tomatoes in cages are easy to monitor their growth because you just watch them as they grow from ring to ring. Although a cage really isn't needed for a determinate tomato like this because you see it's got a central stalk. I could put a stake on that instead. And yeah, we got to get these out of here, these weeds. Let me just walk down the garden a ways and I'm going to show you. This is a much healthier tomato. It's got much deeper green leaves, but we've got something going on here. I have no idea why I've got black on this leaf here. So I'm going to have to do an image search on Google to find out. And this leaf here is misshapen. And here's some more black. I have no idea what this is. I'm going to have to do a Google image search or a Google search on tomato problems and figure out what's going on. See, here's another misshapen leaf here. Don't know what this is. No clue, but we do have to attend to that. Marigolds are supposed to deter pests, but something is chewing on this one. Okay. Let's see, check the squash. Here's the squash. You see this one here is kind of yellowish compared to the one next to it that's nice and green and healthy. This again was a part of the garden that had not been cultivated. The end of the garden used to be right here, and putting this in, I've extended the garden slightly because the tree over there is not shadowing the garden anymore. And so again, this is going to need a hit of Alaska fish fertilizer to get more nitrogen. The yellowish color indicates a nitrogen deficiency. But there does not appear to be any large problems. We got a little problem here. Something's chewing up the leaves or something. Usually unhealthy plants tend to get attacked by bugs. These, see, the healthy ones are nice. And I want to show you, this is I'm already getting fruit. Here's another one over there. But that looks like it was not pollinated. It looks like we have a pollination failure on that. We're going to look a little more closely at that in another couple days. And here's something else that happens. There's a lemon cucumber. There's a lemon cucumber doing very well. This one just does not look like it's going to survive its transplanting. It's just been struggling, and I think this one is going to fail unless something happens real quick here. But it just looks like it's having issues. It's completely different from the ones next to it that don't look like it's having issues. It looks like something is going wrong with the stem here. I'm not sure what that is. Have to look it up again on Google. And the rest of the white veining in the leaves here is not something to be concerned about. It's actually an indication of a healthy plant. Got some, this looks like, again, another issue with the leaves, but I'm not sure what it is. The purple sage, of course, was allowed to bloom, again, to attract pollinators. And this is the bed where I put the green beans, and you can see they're starting to sprout up. And what is this stick and this tomato cage? Well, it's holding up, you can barely see here, a bird net. Nice freshly turned ground. The pests we have to deal with here are squirrels and cats. Cats want to use it as a litter box, squirrels want to plant their nuts in it. So until these plants get established, we have to use nets, physical barriers basically, to keep the squirrels and the cats out. We'll come over here to our sweet peas. Check these out. They're a good 5, almost 6 feet tall, and they are starting to blossom. They get hit with a pollinator and they will start generating. You can see all the blossoms where we will be picking, and you can't see, keep my hand in the, yeah, you can see where we will be picking sweet peas here in about a week. We had a heat wave. You can see the damaged leaves. Usually the first heat wave of summer, we got up to 90 degrees about a week ago, and it totally stressed the sweet peas out, and you can see the results here. This is usually heat damage. So I'm happy these things survived, but because usually the first heat wave of the season just totally kills them, and I was afraid I was going to lose them before they had a chance to produce. Speaking of pests, well, here's green beans that are also growing, and a lot of leaves recently have come up as weeds have come up, and so a lot of weeding to be done in this section here. But you'll notice the leaf miner damage here on the Swiss chard. This is the Swiss chard. leaf miner damage is a problem. And I've also got something else chewing on these. The holes are from something else chewing on it. I forgot how big kale gets, and it's shadowing everything in here, making my New Zealand spinach leggy. Don't forget how big some of your plants get. Yeah, they're just taking over. I might have to pull some stuff out here. Again, leaf miner damage here, and you just got to keep looking for new leaf miner damage and taking care of it while allowing the new leaves to grow, and make sure they're not being damaged. You see the new damage right here by my thumb? This is new damage because it's still green. The leaf then dies within a few days and turns brown, like here on my thumb. So I found a new larva in this leaf here and squished him, and he's gone. The other thing is, you notice all the holes in my kale, and I was wondering, I come out here and I said, what is going on with my kale? And as I'm looking around and trying to figure it out, I find, here we go, right there, there's the culprit. We're just covered with these little caterpillars, and I could spray something on them, but I try to use organic growing techniques. Let me get this guy out of here. So I just generally pick the pest off, walk him over to here where I got a drowning container for him, and just throw him in there. If he crawls out of that one can, he's going to be in another bucket full of water where he drowns a second time. So he's got two things to escape from. This spinach here is also having some issues, but I'm not seeing any kind of caterpillars. I did have a leaf miner in one of them. This is not a leaf. So I've got a weed. Let's get this weed out of here. Come on, weed. Grass is a weed. Boy, we got a lot of weeds in here. Where are you guys coming from? Fortunately, I don't seem to have... The pests seem to be pretty specific about what they like, and so I'm not getting leaf miners in my lettuce. I've got ants in here, which I've been told do not eat vegetables, and so they're going after other things. And so what we're trying to do here is create an ecosystem, and an ecosystem that supports the good bugs, which will go after the bad bugs. And so I don't want to just broadcast an insecticide over this thing, because I'll be getting rid of the good bugs as well as the bad. Strawberries. Let's just keep going. We'll deal with those bugs later. You see we're getting some strawberries here. They're still green. We still have a few blossoms. We've also got some runners going here, which we need to, as you remember, all this stuff here that's growing outside was from runners that I didn't control. Well, I've got some more, so I'm going to have to, we'll make a video to show you what we do with these runners. I've got another one here, and I think I counted 6 runners the other day. But once the strawberries on this thing start turning red, the animals are going to attack them, and so I've got this framework over the top of them, and I'm going to throw a bird net over it, and that's how I'm going to keep the birds and the animals away from my strawberries. Another purple sage, and let's then come over here. We've got onions. These onions are doing well, even though they get pelted by these falling pine cones from the tree directly above it. I've been doing a fairly decent job of keeping the weeds out of it, although there are a few exceptions. I'll get these later. And you can see I've got a couple of really well-developed onions here that are going to be very nice when they finally fall over and are ready to pick. I'll tell you a secret. You water them almost every other day. And what I've been watering them with is high nitrogen fertilizer, the Alaska fish food. Want to develop the tops. Then, something's attacked this. Look at that. Something's attacking the tip of this. Once the tops have been very well developed, I will then add fertilizer, and I'll add calcium to the fertilizer. Just stir in a little bit of calcium, some bone meal or something, and try to get it to dissolve. Water it in, and the calcium helps the bulbs to develop at that point. So we can hold off the bulb development until we get good tops. Once we get the good tops, we can then get the bulbs to develop. It's just kind of a way of pushing things and controlling when the plant decides to do the bulbing thing. Carrots here. You can see I've taken the time to go ahead and thin this out. I've planted them. I got to apologize. I didn't make a video of this, of how I did the carrots. But you can see also that I've got it underneath this chicken wire here. Again, the squirrels, the cats like to take the freshly tilled soil in the pots and dig it up. And so I made this little cage here. I've had it for years that I just throw over the two pots. And once these things get up to where they're touching this cage, I take it away. By then it's the plants are dense enough that squirrels and cats are going to stay out of it. The rain we've had this last few days, almost the last week, have been very helpful because it's been soaking down into the pots, and it's been helping to form the tap roots of the carrots, which is important. Here we have some basil, which was also recently transplanted, and you can see also, again, this is having that yellow leaf problem, which indicates that it's not got enough nitrogen. So we're going to adjust the feed that we give it to give it more nitrogen. And this one as well is having nitrogen issues, and it's stunted. So we're going to be adjusting the feeding of these things to give it more nitrogen. And the oregano is having absolutely zero problems. The thyme is blooming. So that's it. That's the farmer walk. We may have heard of the farmer walk. There's a reason for it. And I've just laid it out for you. Just give you a nice view of the garden. It's beautiful, isn't it? You want to check your plants daily. Watch for problems with pests. Watch for, monitor their growth. Monitor their health. Adjust their feeding. Weed the garden to eliminate competition. And you do that, and you should have a good, healthy... Hello. I know someone with a chainsaw talking to the tree up there. And if you follow those guidelines, just a one farmer walk a day to check your plants, watch out for pests, monitor the feed, you should end up in a month to 6 weeks start having a good harvest. So, happy gardening. Like and subscribe. Share it if you think somebody else can benefit from this video. Thank you for watching. Happy gardening.